Keep it a little festive. There's my little hat. Yay! Shout out to mom for getting me my little Happy New Year hat, my little tiny hat. Happy New Year, you guys. I just wanted to go over and do a summary. And if you guys are wondering, do I wear different clothes? Absolutely, I do. I wear different clothes. I have different clothes under here. But I like wearing, it's January here in Texas, so it's kind of cool. But I love wearing my navy hoodie that my son bought me. Oh my God, it is just the warmest thing ever. And my son will tell you, I do not like hoodies. I like the zip ups, but because I don't like pulling over my hair. But he has got me this. I just wanted to do a quick summary for you guys. Shout out. I know that your new year is starting off fabulous. If you feel like you could be doing better with your start to the new year, that's okay too. But we're just gonna say fabulous. We're starting off fabulous. And if it ain't fabulous, then you better pretend like it is while you're watching. So today, I wanted to just kind of summarize up 2024, what I learned. I have some goodies here. I have my little heart deck. I have my Joyce Myers. I have my Heal Your Body. And yes, I absolutely am. Oh, my book tried to slide between the seats. And I actually do have some angel numbers today. So I'm going to be doing a pull for, I call it my fiscal year, because my fiscal year technically starts in October. So I generally do like all the New Year's things that are traditional. I do that for myself in October, typically on my birthday, October the 5th. So I like doing that, but I want to summarize for you guys that everybody is doing their, normal January fiscal year. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. So this year in 2024, what I learned is, despite the fact that there are people, I'm going to turn this heater down a little bit. Despite the fact that there are people that I've come across that have been hurt in several capacities, the two that have stood out this year is what people are referring to as church hurt, right? And then another one, which is in just relationships, right? With family, friends, coworkers, romantic mate. These are the two areas that are highlighted, the ones that stand out. My message to you is love yourself. And a lot of people say, well, Tina, you say that like it's easy. Honey, trust me, in 2018, I found out it was not very easy to just love on yourself, especially when you don't know how, when you're not taught how, when people just say these words to you, love yourself, right? What does love yourself mean? Well, first you have to dissect, you have to go and find out, what does love mean to you? Let's start right there. And then after you figure out what love means to you, you have to ask other people what their dynamic of love is. Yesterday I had a couple of clients that got in the car and they said that they were going through breakthroughs. And then I actually had a couple that got in the car. They had been together for 3 years and they were like, honey, don't give up, because let me tell you what happened. And the phenomenal story that they had, oh my gosh, I will just always treasure that. If you guys happen to find me, y'all too that were in the car, shout out to y'all. You know who you are. Okay, love you. So what I learned about church hurt was this. This is what I learned about church hurt. If you're one of the people that are church hurt, religion does not rule everything, right? I have been to church. I used to practice Islam as well. I used to go to a mosque. And this is what I found out. If you're a person who says, well, the church hurt me, then that means you need to build your own private relationship with God, right? Because the church cannot hurt you. Right? You choose to be in an environment. And if you say, Tina, before you go there, talking about, I chose an environment. I grew up in the church. I didn't know any better. I didn't have any better. This is all I knew. This message is not for you then, right? But if you did grow up, this is what I'm going to say. I do understand that people of the church have the ability to cause emotional damage and to give you moments of PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, right? When it comes to being in an environment that maybe there were aspects of it that you enjoyed, but you stopped it because of the whole of it, right? Social media is a big thing right now. So a lot of churches broadcast, right? So to me, if you still feel a connection with whatever capacity, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Islam, whether it's Mormon, or whatever it is, whatever positive thing that you choose, right? If it's the people that hurt you when you made your decision to create your relationship with God or your higher belief system, whatever that is, I want you to continue on the journey to build your own personal relationship with God. That way, when you do go into an establishment, right? When you go into an establishment, you're not going to worry about, is this going to hurt me? You'll be worrying about, what is it that I'm going to learn, right? So with that, we're going to go to Joyce Myers because that's my girl. And we're just going to do a little bibliomancy. And if you don't know what bibliomancy is when you just trust the process, you go with the flow, you say, whoo, good Lord, show me what you want. Or Spirit, show me what you want. Or Buddha, show me what you, somebody show me. Okay, so we're going to address the church hurt, and then we're going to go on to the relationships, right? Okay, so if you are church hurt, this is your message. I feel like I need to go to the back of the book some more, right here. Ooh, and the message says, step out and find out. So let's see what it says. We often find it difficult to trust what we believe may be the direction from the Lord. It is not that we distrust him, but we distrust our ability to hear from him. Now, I don't want y'all to think that this is coming from a religious standpoint, but this is coming from a positive standpoint. Okay, so let's continue to read. I eventually found out that I had to take a step of faith, and then I would find out by experience how to recognize the leadership of the Holy Spirit. Step out and find out. A lot of the times we don't want to listen to our, what we call intuition. Some people will call it spirit. Some people will call it several different things, right? Because we are uncertain. And this is the muscle that you need to grow, right? This is the muscle that you need to grow. I want to put this down, but I don't want to lose my place. So I'm going to keep my finger on it right there. The reason why I say you want to learn how to trust yourself is because there are so many people. If you find yourself making the following phrase or statements, right? I don't trust people. Ain't nobody out there like me. Ain't nobody good. Ain't nobody this. If you find yourself making those following statements, it is because you have not built up your muscles strong enough to learn how to trust your own discernment. It's time for you to learn how to trust your own discernment and to build that muscle. Well, how do you build that muscle? Unfortunately, you're going to have to do a series of tests and a couple of tests, right? And so some of those tests are going to be like this. You know what? I'm going to say hi to this person. And when I say hi to this person, I'm going to see if they say hi back. But before I say hi to them, I'm going to say, I feel like this person feels this way. And then say hi to them and see and say, I wonder if they're going to respond. I think they are going to respond. And then say hi to the person, right? Or have casual conversations with people and see if that muscle, your intuition, is on point about what's going on. This is how you learn to trust yourself instead of giving the power of influence to the people that are on the outside of you. When you learn how to trust that discernment, when you hear whatever your belief system is, I say God, when you hear whatever your belief system is, then you will be able to discern that that message is coming for your good. Does that make sense? That makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So let me go back real quick. And then we're gonna wrap this part up and get into something else. Okay, so step out and find out is what I always say. As we are learning to be led by the Holy Spirit, we are bound to make a few mistakes, but God always helps us get back on the right track, and we learn from our mistakes. Here's another part of loving yourself, building your discernment, building your intuition is right here. We learn from our mistakes. If you are making a mistake, here's something else that I learned and observed throughout the year. A lot of people need help with coping. I was listening to Nuri Muhammad. If you have not ever listened to this young man speak, I do agree with a majority of what he says. I'm not going to say all of it, but the majority of what he says, I do agree with. And he said one thing that it blew my mind. I had to hit the pause and I had to let that marinate. And what he said was, sometimes religion is being taught to teach you how to cope, but it doesn't remind you on how to be a conqueror. Now, that may not be verbatim. Sorry, Nuri, if it's not verbatim, but it was similar to that. And I had to think about that. And then I had to think about the people that I know that are connected to certain religious practices, right? And I had to think about when they go through challenges, how do they face those challenges? And do they acknowledge the mistakes that they've made within their self or within their journey? How are they coping, and how are they seeing that they are victorious or that they conquered, and are they still holding on to things from the past? And to me, I know we all kind of do a little bit, but what I'm looking for is a person and or people or a group of people that say, I made this mistake, or I faced this challenge, or I had this experience. And when I faced this challenge or I had this particular experience, this is what I learned from it so that I can move forward. Now, some people will say out of their lips, oh, I moved forward and I let that go. But then they still talking about it. And you can feel the hurt. You can feel the pain. You can feel the discerning, how do I want to say this? The discerning judgment in that, right? And most times the hurt that they don't realize, and we're not talking about by force, we're talking about by choice. Sometimes that hurt, they deflect it and give that purpose of pain to the outside influence person and say, they did this to me. And I'm not talking about by force. I'm talking about by choice. A lot of times our discernment, once you have built up that muscle of discernment, you have built up that muscle of intuition, you have built it up, you tend to ignore. I say ignore. Can we say ignore? You tend to ignore all the signs that it was coming, or you knew before you picked up the phone, Tina. You knew before you met that person in person, Tina. You knew before you chose to go on vacation with that person, before you chose to go to dinner with that person. You knew these things, right? And then the challenge happened, excuse me, and you got in there, you faced the challenge, and you knew there was going to be a choice of experiencing emotional damage, and then you harness this feeling of guilt within yourself one or two ways. I never should have did that. You punish yourself. The next one is, they did that to me, even though I knew it. And then you hold on to it. The part of cope that I think people get lost in is cope means the ability or the emotional stability to be able to view a situation from an outside aspect and point and create a solution for it. And once you create a solution for it, put it into practice. And this is the part of cope where most people fail. You will hear the following statement: man, I already tried that. I already did that. Somebody already told me that. Because you are frustrated to the point where you feel as though I can no longer try to do the same things that I did before. Let me try something different. But sometimes if you see that a suggestion is constantly being brought back to you over and over again, Maybe it's because spirit, energy, whatever your belief system is saying, yeah, you did try this, but you need to just tweak it a little bit. You got rid of the whole solution and you really needed to keep a part of it, right? So let's see. The process of learning to be led by God is no different from the process that babies go through when learning to walk. They all fall down in the process, but as long as they get up and try again, eventually they will end up not only walking, but also running at full speed. It says James chapter 1 begins by telling us how to handle the trials of life. This is when I go back to when you face a challenge and you are not just coping, right? Because coping is like recognition. I recognize that I failed at this, or I recognize I was victorious with this, or I recognize that this challenge that I faced. Let's go to the next part of what Nuri Muhammad said is remembering you are a conqueror and remembering you had the ability to conquer that challenge. And I think with coping mechanisms, so many times people forget I learned how to cope, meaning I learned how to acknowledge the challenge that I face, but they forget that I conquered. They forget that I was victorious. They forget the part that says I created a solution for that. And often they focus on the mistake or focus on the challenge, hereby giving away your power. So as you build your muscle of intuition, as you build your muscle of discernment, as you build those things, it's just like she said, just like this process of a baby. You're gonna fall, but keep going and keep growing, okay? It says there's a natural way of handling problems, but there is also a spiritual way to handle them. It says, if any of you is deficient in wisdom, let him ask of giving God, who gives to everyone liberally and ungrudgingly, without reproaching or fault finding, and it will be given him. Only it must be in faith that he asks with no wavering, no hesitation, no doubting. For the one who wavers, hesitates, doubts, right? Is like the billowing surge out at sea that is blown hither and thither and tossed by the wind. James 1 verses 5-6. Jesus is saying here, if you are having trouble, ask God what you should do. Pray, meditate, ask, and then listen. This is the other part that people forget in the prayer, is to listen. And sometimes that answer does not look like what you think it's going to look like. Things are always going on behind the scenes, and sometimes we want it faster than what we think it should come, right? It should be instantaneous. It should come right now. Or just because it did not manifest quickly, it means that nothing is being worked on. And that's just not true. It has been being worked on. It is being worked on. But you have to have the patience and the discernment to see that it's on the way. You may not receive an answer immediately. You may not receive an answer immediately upon making your request, but you will find as you go about your business that God's wisdom is operating through you, and his wisdom is divine and beyond your natural knowing. And then here's the last part that she says, trust in him. If you are having trouble trusting your ability to hear from God, step out and find out. Practice, work this muscle. You have to be able to trust yourself, and then the lack of trusting yourself will slowly disappear because you will begin to trust yourself. People that know me, that have conversations with me, and it's not to be arrogant in the negative sense of the word, but to be confident that when I say to you, guess what? I love you, but. And most people know when I say I love you, but, it means that I'm not saying I don't believe you or I don't trust you. But what I am saying is I trust myself to stand my ground. There is a certainty that I feel for me. If I am ever wrong in that certainty, I definitely come back. And I circle back around and say, I apologize. But that happens, how do I say this? That happens less times than more. I will say it that way. It happens less time than more because I've learned to stand my ground. It's called cherry limeade. I need to go back and see if I've ever done a story on just cherry limeade, and because I'm not going to explain that again, but I'm going to search my videos, and I'm going to, if I don't have one, I'm going to make one called cherry limeade just for you guys. Okay. It says, trust in him. If you're having trouble trusting your ability to hear from God, step out and find out. Learning to discern God's voice is a process. Even if you fall down, you can trust him to help you to find your way again. And that came from the October 27th day. And I think it's October 27th is the Holy Spirit gives you strength. October 26th is step out and find out. If you have the book, Trusting God Day to Day by Joyce Meyer, highly recommend, 10 out of 10. Right. So let's do this. I'm going to give you a couple of angel numbers real quick, just because I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. And this is in regards to the church hurt. And we're going to jump right in. Oh, it's already been over 20 minutes, y'all. Okay. I'm going to get into the relationships probably later. I will make a mention of something real quick though. All right, so we're going to go to 819, 820, and 821 for angel numbers in regards to the hurt of the church, learning to love yourself and learning to trust yourself. So here's the angel numbers 819. As long as you hold positive thoughts about your divine life purpose, you'll be supported in this endeavor. And then 820, trust that God is watching over you and your family, ensuring that your needs are provided for. And 821, as you stay positive and filled with faith, your financial situation improves rapidly. Okay, and this is the angel book by Doreen Virtue. Shout out to her. I love her. I know these are no longer in print, so I cherish this with everything that I got. All right, so make sure that these angel numbers, if these are confirmations for you, all right, I know they definitely are confirmations for me, but if these are confirmation numbers for you, then seriously go back, build your relationship with God, and you won't have to worry about church hurt or any type of religion hurt. Build that relationship. Build your gift of discernment or your intuition. And I gave you a couple of tips on how to do that. If you need more help, go to bookwithtina.com. Book a session with me. We'll do a 1 hour one-on-one and we'll get you started on that. Okay. And make sure, as Joyce Meyer says, step out and find out. Now, I'm going to talk about relationships real quick. And I'm going to talk about very briefly your relationships with family, friends, co-workers, and romantic mate. Looking in the Louise L. Hay book, it's called Heal Your Body. And I want to talk about anxiety real quick. Went straight to it because that's what popped in my head. So in this book, this particular book of Heal Your Body, this is the short condensed version that talks about just the what do you call it? The symptom. It talks about what brings that, and then it also gives you an affirmation. And these are things for different work. So if you are a person that has anxiety, right? And then I'm gonna go see if depression is in here as well. If you are a person that has anxiety or depression about your relationships with family, friend, co-workers, or romantic mate, then this message is for you. So for anxiety, she says, not trusting the flow and the process of life, right? Because you're a person that's like, I always have to have a solution, or I always have to fix everything, or people need to be the way I need them to be in order for me to operate. And then the affirmation is, I love and approve of myself, and I trust the process of life. I am safe. And when you are not trusting your own gift of discernment, which we've already talked about previously, if you're not trusting that gift of discernment, if you are not trusting that you have the ability to make the right choices by using your gift, then you are not feeling safe, right? Because you're allowing others to make decisions for you. So anxiety, not trusting the flow and the process of life, and I love and approve of myself, and I trust the process of life. I am safe. Now we're going to take a look at the depression part, right? To me, depression means the inability to be able to create solutions, right? And we talked about coping, right? And their way of coping is staying in a sense of victimhood, right? That nothing is ever going to get better for me. I don't know how to get better on my own. I need this and I need that in order to not be sad, so to speak, right? Or to not feel like a failure, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? And before people like, oh, I'm going to get off my medication because Tina said, no, Tina did not tell you to get off anxiety medication. Tina did not tell you to get off depression medication. What I am saying is, if there is a challenge that you are facing and you need help with creating a solution so you don't feel the way that you feel, get help, go to therapy, do what they're saying to do. But the problem is most people that have consistent anxiety or consistent depression have a hard time doing this. It is a belief. I know I had anxiety. I had depression. And so I am talking from experience, my own personal experience. Anyway, so depression, anger, you feel you do not have a right to have, and hopelessness. That's what it has in the book. And then it says this, I was going to say the solution. You could say the solution, but I'm going to say the affirmation that she has is, I now go beyond other people's fears and limitations. I create my life. And that's what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about the whole, excuse me, religious hurt or the church hurt type of situation. That's exactly what I was talking about, right? I now go beyond other people's fears and limitations. Sometimes those people that have fear and limitations have those fear and limitations because that is what worked for them. But just because it worked for them doesn't mean it has to work for you. And they will try to push their agenda onto you. Well, I went to work and it did this for me, so you need to go and do this. I went to church, and when I went to church, it did this for me, so you also have to do it. And then you become pressed downward. You become depressed because that's not what you feel like is going to work for you. I'm going to close on that session. So I feel as though when you are in a situation where people want you, when you are in a situation where people want you to be somebody that you are not, then rethink being in the space of that person. And people are going to say, Tina, sometimes it's challenging for that, and it's kind of hard. Excuse me, Tina, it's kind of hard to do that, because with doing that, it means that person may be somebody that has been in your life a long time, such as a family member. And they're like, Tina, you can't just get rid of family. And I completely understand that, but you can create a boundary and you can draw a space for that, right? Because if you're allowing the people on the outside to influence you, and it can be done, it gets done to me. It gets done to me too. I'm not pointing no finger like you. I mean, this gets done to me too. This is something that's a work in progress with me too, because people that I love, I do allow them sometimes to influence some of my decisions. But when I come to the point where I say, no, I don't want to do that, it hurts their feelings. And it's not intentional to hurt their feelings, but I'm saying no to that. That's something I don't want to do, because when I do what they are suggesting, then I'm the one that gets hurt, because I am pressing down. I am depressing what I really want to do. Whose fault is that? Going back to the beginning, this is a choice. Now, where the argument may come in between family, friend, coworker, and romantic mate is because, going back to what she said, the other person has this fear and this limitation. that you do not have. And because you do not have that fear and that limitation, they look at you a certain way, like, who do you think you are? Oh, you think you better than me to not listen to me. I'm dropping you wisdom. So with that being said, this year should be all about trusting yourself and removing the power of outside influence. Hence, hereby removing religious hurt, church hurt, whatever you'd like to call it. Hereby also creating boundaries in your relationships with family, friends, coworkers, and romantic mate. When we talked about anxiety and we talked about depression earlier, let's focus more on not just coping, which is recognizing the mistake, acknowledging what happened. Let's not live there. Let's go on to create a solution so we can remind ourselves that we are also conquerors, right? And that we can be victorious. I love you guys. You have an awesome and amazing day. I'm about to get it in, go to work. Did not intend for it to be this long, but I love you guys. Hopefully this helps you guys with love yourself and love yourself in this new year. If your new year is from January to January, if your fiscal year, I'm going to encourage you to do a fiscal year. I use my birthday, but I'm going to encourage you to do a fiscal year for yourself because everybody's new year does not start in January. Okay. I love you guys. Have an awesome and amazing day. Mwah. Bye-bye. Love you.